Sometimes the most profound moments in our lives happen when we think nobody is watching. When we whisper our deepest fears into the darkness, believing our words will disappear into silence. But what if someone was listening? What if that someone had the power to change everything? This is the story of Maya Johnson, a brilliant young woman whose quiet confession outside an exclusive restaurant would set in motion events that would challenge everything she believed about worth, dignity, and the true meaning of success. It's a story that reminds us that sometimes the universe places exactly the right person in exactly the right place at exactly the right moment. What started as a moment of crushing rejection would become a journey of unexpected friendship, hidden identities, and the discovery that real wealth isn't always what it appears to be. This is the true story of how one overheard whisper changed two lives forever. Maya Johnson stood outside the gleaming glass doors of the Sterling, one of Manhattan's most exclusive restaurants, clutching her worn leather purse against her chest. The evening air carried the scent of expensive perfume, and cigar smoke from the well-dressed patrons flowing in and out of the establishment. She had saved for 3 months to afford this dinner, not for herself, but for her younger brother Marcus, who had just graduated from community college against all odds. The hostess, a tall blonde woman with perfectly manicured nails and a smile that didn't reach her eyes, looked Maya up and down with obvious disdain. Maya's simple black dress, purchased from a thrift store and carefully pressed that morning, suddenly felt inadequate under the woman's scrutiny. Her shoes, though polished to a shine, showed signs of wear that no amount of care could hide. "I'm sorry, miss, but we're completely booked this evening," the hostess said, her voice carrying a tone that suggested Maya didn't belong there anyway. "But I have a reservation," Maya replied softly, pulling out her phone to show the confirmation email. "Maya Johnson, 7:30. I made it 2 weeks ago." The hostess barely glanced at the screen. "I'm afraid there's been a mistake. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at the diner down the street. It's much more suitable for your budget." Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment as other patrons began to notice the commotion. A couple in designer clothing whispered to each other while looking in her direction. An older man in an expensive suit shook his head disapprovingly. She could feel their judgment like a physical weight pressing down on her shoulders. "Please," Maya said, her voice barely above a whisper. "My brother just graduated, and I wanted to celebrate with him. I've been saving for months." The hostess's expression remained unchanged. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to move along. You're blocking the entrance for our actual guests." Maya's heart sank as she realized the futility of her situation. She nodded slowly, turned away from the judgmental stares, and walked toward the alley beside the restaurant. Once she was out of sight from the main entrance, the tears she had been holding back finally began to fall. "I'm poor. That's why they didn't let me in," she whispered to herself, leaning against the brick wall. "It doesn't matter how hard I work or how much I save. People like me don't belong in places like that." What Maya didn't know was that someone had followed her into the alley. Alexander Chun, dressed in a simple hoodie and jeans, had witnessed the entire exchange from where he sat at the bar inside the restaurant. He had been taking a break from a business dinner with his investment team, needing fresh air and a moment away from the constant talk of quarterly reports and market projections. Alexander was the founder and CEO of Chun Industries, a technology empire worth over $8 billion. But tonight, he had chosen to dress down, tired of the constant attention his wealth typically attracted. He had slipped out of his formal dinner jacket and tie, leaving them with his assistant, and had been enjoying the rare freedom of anonymity when he witnessed Maya's humiliation. "Excuse me," Alexander said gently, stepping into the alley. "Are you all right?" Maya quickly wiped her tears and tried to compose herself. "I'm fine. Just having a moment." Alexander could see right through her brave facade. He had grown up in poverty himself, before his technological innovations had changed his life entirely. He recognized the particular kind of hurt that came from being judged solely on one's appearance and economic status. "I couldn't help but overhear what happened inside," he said carefully. "That wasn't right." Maya let out a bitter laugh. "It's nothing new. People like me learn to expect it. I just thought. I hoped maybe this one time would be different." "People like you?" Alexander asked, genuinely curious. "Poor people. People who don't have the right clothes or the right connections. People who save every penny just to afford one nice evening and still get turned away. Her voice cracked slightly. I work 2 jobs and go to school full-time. I haven't bought myself anything new in over a year because every dollar goes toward my education or helping my family. But, apparently, that's not enough to earn basic respect. Alexander felt a familiar anger rise in his chest. He had faced similar discrimination in his youth, before his success made him untouchable to such petty prejudices. He had never forgotten how it felt to be dismissed and underestimated simply because of his circumstances. "What's your name?" he asked. "Maya. Maya Johnson." "Well, Maya Johnson, what would you say if I told you that you could have dinner at any restaurant in this city tonight?" Maya looked at him skeptically. He appeared to be just another young man in casual clothes, probably not much older than her own 24 years. "I'd say you're either very optimistic or you don't understand how expensive these places are." Alexander smiled, but didn't reveal his identity. Instead, he pulled out his phone and made a call. "James, it's Alex. I need you to call the Sterling and inform them that they'll be hosting a very important guest tonight." "Maya Johnson." "Yes, that's right. Make sure she gets the best table in the house, and anything she wants is on the house." Maya stared at him in confusion as he ended the call. "Who are you? And what did you just do?" "I'm just someone who believes everyone deserves to be treated with dignity," Alexander replied. "And I think you'll find that your reservation is suddenly available again." Before Maya could ask any more questions, the hostess from inside appeared at the mouth of the alley, looking frantic and apologetic. "Ms. Johnson, I'm so terribly sorry for the confusion earlier. We've prepared your table, and the manager would like to personally apologize for the misunderstanding." Maya looked between Alexander and the hostess, completely bewildered by this sudden change in treatment. The same woman who had dismissed her so coldly minutes earlier was now practically bowing with deference. "I don't understand," Maya said to Alexander. "What just happened?" "Sometimes people need a reminder about basic human decency," Alexander replied simply. "Go enjoy your dinner with your brother. You've earned it." As Maya walked back toward the restaurant entrance, her mind was racing with questions about the mysterious young man who had somehow turned her rejection into a welcome. She paused at the door and turned back, but Alexander had already disappeared into the crowd on the street. Inside the Sterling, Maya was treated like royalty. The manager personally seated her at the best table in the house, overlooking the city's glittering skyline. When Marcus arrived, he was amazed by the luxurious setting and the attentive service they received. "Maya, how did you manage all this?" Marcus asked, looking around at the elegant surroundings. "This place must cost a fortune." "I honestly don't know," Maya replied, still thinking about her encounter with Alexander. "Someone helped me. A stranger who saw what happened and decided to do something about it." Throughout dinner, Maya kept glancing toward the restaurant's entrance, hoping to catch another glimpse of the man who had changed her evening so dramatically. She wanted to thank him properly, to understand why he had chosen to help her when he barely knew her. But Alexander remained nowhere to be seen, having returned to his business dinner through a different entrance. The meal itself was extraordinary. Every course was perfectly prepared, and the service was impeccable. Marcus talked excitedly about his plans for the future, his dreams of becoming an engineer, and his gratitude for Maya's constant support throughout his education. For Maya, the evening became everything she had hoped it would be when she first made the reservation weeks earlier. 3 weeks after the incident at the Sterling, Maya had nearly convinced herself that the whole experience had been some kind of dream. She had returned to her routine of working at a local coffee shop in the mornings, attending classes at the community college in the afternoons, and tutoring high school students in mathematics during the evenings. The memory of that magical dinner remained vivid, but it felt increasingly disconnected from her everyday reality. It was a typical Tuesday morning when Maya arrived at Grind Coffee, the small independent shop where she had worked for the past 2 years. The owner, Mrs. Rodriguez, had given Maya flexible hours that worked around her class schedule, and, in return, Maya had become one of the most reliable and beloved employees. Regular customers often requested her specifically, drawn to her warm smile and genuine interest in their lives. Maya was busy preparing for the morning rush when she heard the familiar chime of the front door. She looked up from the espresso machine to see a customer she didn't recognize, though something about him seemed oddly familiar. He was wearing jeans and a simple gray t-shirt, with slightly messy dark hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He looked tired, as if he had been working all night. "Good morning," Maya said with her usual bright smile. "What can I get started for you today?" The man studied the menu board for a moment before looking directly at her. "I'll have a large black coffee, please. And whatever pastry you'd recommend." There was something about his voice that made Maya pause. It was warm and slightly gravelly, with a hint of an accent she couldn't quite place. She found herself staring at him for a moment longer than was professionally appropriate. "The blueberry scones are really good," she offered. "Mrs. Rodriguez makes them fresh every morning." "That sounds perfect," he replied. And when he smiled, Maya felt a small flutter of recognition, though she couldn't place where she might have seen him before. As Maya prepared his order, she noticed that he was watching her work with unusual interest. Most customers spent their waiting time checking their phones or looking around the shop, but this man seemed genuinely fascinated by the process of making coffee. "You're very skilled at that," he commented as Maya created intricate foam art in his cup. Maya laughed softly. "It's just practice. I've been working here for a couple of years, so I've had plenty of time to perfect my technique." "Do you go to school as well?" he asked. "Yes, I'm studying business administration at the community college. I want to open my own cafe someday." Maya handed him his coffee and pastry. "Something smaller and more personal than the big chains, you know? A place where people can come to feel welcomed and valued." The man's expression shifted slightly, becoming more serious. "That sounds like a wonderful goal. I imagine you'd be excellent at creating that kind of environment." Something in his tone made Maya look at him more carefully. There was a depth to his words that suggested he understood more about business than the average coffee shop customer. Before she could pursue the thought further, the morning rush began in earnest, and a line of customers formed behind him. "I should let you get back to work," he said, stepping aside. "Thank you for the recommendation. I'm sure I'll enjoy it." As he found a seat in the corner of the shop, Maya threw herself into serving the steady stream of customers. But throughout the busy morning, she found her attention drifting to the quiet man with the kind eyes. He had pulled out a laptop and seemed to be working on something important, occasionally taking calls in a voice too low for her to overhear. During a brief lull in customers, Maya noticed that he was still there, now on his third cup of coffee. She walked over to his table with the coffee pot. "Refill?" she offered. "That would be great. Thank you," he replied, looking up from his laptop screen. "I hope you don't mind me camping out here for so long. I have some work to catch up on, and I find coffee shops more inspiring than my usual office." "Not at all. You're welcome to stay as long as you'd like," Maya said, pouring fresh coffee into his cup. She glanced at his laptop screen and caught a glimpse of what appeared to be complex financial charts and graphs. "Looks like serious work." He quickly minimized the window, but not before Maya noticed the heading at the top of one of the documents. "Chun Industries Quarterly Report." "Just some business analysis," he said casually. "Nothing too exciting." Maya nodded and was about to return to the counter when he spoke again. "Actually, I was wondering if you might join me for a few minutes when you have a break. I'd love to hear more about your business plans." Maya was surprised by the invitation. It wasn't unusual for regular customers to chat with her, but this man was a complete stranger, and there was something about his interest that seemed more professional than casual. "I get a 15-minute break in about an hour," she said. "If you're still here, I'd be happy to talk." When Maya's break time arrived, she found the mysterious customer still seated at his corner table, now with a small stack of papers beside his laptop. She approached with her own cup of coffee and sat down across from him. "I'm Maya, by the way," she said, realizing they hadn't been properly introduced. "Alex," he replied with that same warm smile. "It's nice to meet you officially." As they talked, Maya found herself opening up about her dreams and aspirations in a way that surprised her. Alex asked thoughtful questions about her business plans, her vision for her future cafe, and the challenges she anticipated facing. His questions were more sophisticated than she expected from a casual conversation, demonstrating a deep understanding of business operations and market dynamics. "You've really thought this through," Alex said after she finished describing her 5-year plan. "Your approach to community building and customer loyalty is particularly impressive. Those are the foundations of any successful service business. You sound like you know a lot about business yourself, Maya observed. What do you do for work? Alex hesitated for a moment before answering. I'm in technology development. Software and applications, mostly. It was a vague answer, but Maya didn't want to pry. She had enjoyed their conversation and didn't want to make him uncomfortable by being too nosy. That must be interesting work, she said diplomatically. It can be, Alex replied. But I find myself more interested in hearing about your goals. Have you considered applying for small business loans or looking into investor funding? Maya's expression shifted slightly, and Alex immediately recognized that he had touched on a sensitive topic. I've looked into it, Maya said quietly. But banks aren't exactly lining up to lend money to someone with my credit score and income level. And investors, well, they're looking for the next big tech startup, not a small neighborhood cafe run by a community college student. Alex felt that familiar anger rising again, the same frustration he had experienced outside the Sterling. He knew firsthand how difficult it could be for people without connections or established wealth to access the resources they needed to build their dreams. You might be surprised, he said carefully. There are investors who focus specifically on supporting small businesses and entrepreneurs from underrepresented communities. People who understand that the best investments aren't always the flashiest ones. Maya looked at him skeptically. Do you know investors like that? I might know a few, Alex replied, choosing his words carefully. He wanted to help Maya, but he also wanted to maintain his anonymity for now. Something about their conversation felt genuine and unpretentious, and he wasn't ready to introduce the complications that would come with revealing his true identity. Their break time passed quickly, and Maya reluctantly returned to work. But throughout the rest of her shift, she found herself thinking about their conversation. Alex remained at his table for another hour before packing up his laptop and approaching the counter. Alex became a regular at Grind Coffee over the following 2 weeks, always arriving during Maya's morning shift and staying for a couple of hours to work on his laptop. Maya found herself looking forward to his visits and the conversations they shared during her breaks. He never pressed her for personal information, but he showed genuine interest in her studies, her family, and her dreams for the future. What Maya didn't realize was that Alex was conducting his own quiet investigation into her life and character. Through careful conversations and discreet inquiries with Mrs. Rodriguez, he learned about Maya's exceptional work ethic, her kindness to difficult customers, and her habit of staying late to help train new employees without asking for extra pay. He discovered that she regularly sent money home to help support her mother and younger siblings, despite her own financial struggles. One particularly busy morning, Maya was dealing with a difficult customer who was angry about the wait time and the price of his specialty drink. The man was raising his voice and making other customers uncomfortable, but Maya remained calm and professional throughout the interaction. Sir, I understand you're frustrated, Maya said patiently. Let me remake your drink personally to make sure it's exactly what you want, and I'll take 10% off your total today. The customer continued to complain loudly, but Maya's gentle persistence eventually won him over. By the time he left, he was actually smiling and had apologized for his earlier behavior. Alex watched the entire exchange from his corner table, impressed by Maya's grace under pressure. During her break that day, Alex brought up the incident. You handled that really well, he said. Not everyone would have stayed so calm with a customer like that. Maya shrugged modestly. Everyone has bad days. Sometimes people just need someone to listen and show them a little kindness. I've learned that most angry customers aren't really angry about coffee. They're usually dealing with something else entirely. Her response reinforced Alex's growing conviction that Maya possessed the exact combination of business sense and emotional intelligence that made for truly exceptional entrepreneurs. That evening, he made another call to his assistant. Sarah, I want you to set up a meeting with the head of our community investment initiative, he said, and research the best small business development programs in the city. I want to know about application processes, success rates, and current funding availability. Are you thinking about launching a new corporate social responsibility program? Sarah asked. Something like that, Alex replied, still not ready to fully explain his growing interest in helping Maya achieve her dreams. The next week, Maya arrived at work to find Mrs. Rodriguez practically glowing with excitement. The older woman had always been supportive of Maya's education and career goals, often allowing her to study during slow periods and adjusting her schedule around important exams. "Maya, you'll never guess what happened," Mrs. Rodriguez said as soon as Maya walked through the door. "I got a call yesterday from something called the Community Business Development Fund. They want to meet with you about your cafe plans." Maya stopped tying her apron and stared at her boss in confusion. "I'm sorry, what? I've never heard of that organization, and I haven't applied for anything recently." "That's what I thought too," Mrs. Rodriguez replied. "But the woman on the phone knew all about your business plans. She said someone had recommended you as an exceptional candidate for their mentorship and funding program. They want to meet with you this Thursday afternoon." Maya's mind immediately went to Alex, but she couldn't imagine how he would know about specialized business programs or have connections to funding organizations. He seemed like a nice guy with some business knowledge, but he was clearly around her age and dressed like any other casual customer. "Did they say who recommended me?" Maya asked. "They said the recommendation came through their network of business advisors, but they didn't give me a specific name," Mrs. Rodriguez replied. "Maya, this could be the opportunity you've been waiting for. You should definitely meet with them." Thursday afternoon found Maya sitting nervously in the sleek offices of the Community Business Development Fund, wearing her best professional outfit and carrying a folder with her carefully prepared business plan. The receptionist had directed her to a conference room where she was greeted by a woman in her 40s with kind eyes and a warm smile. "Maya, I'm Jennifer Walsh, the program director," the woman said, shaking Maya's hand. "I'm so pleased to finally meet you. We've heard wonderful things about your work ethic and your vision for your business." "Thank you," Maya replied, still confused about how she had come to their attention. "I have to admit, I'm not entirely sure how this meeting came about. Mrs. Rodriguez said someone recommended me, but I don't know who." Jennifer smiled knowingly. "Sometimes opportunities come from unexpected sources. What matters is that you're here now, and we're very interested in learning more about your plans." For the next hour, Maya presented her business plan with passion and detail. She talked about her vision of creating a community gathering space that would serve quality coffee while providing affordable meeting areas for local groups and students. She explained her ideas for partnering with local artists to display their work and hosting events that would bring people together across economic and social lines. Jennifer asked thoughtful questions about Maya's market research, financial projections, and operational plans. With each answer, Maya's confidence grew, and she began to believe that maybe this opportunity was real. "Your plan is impressive, Maya," Jennifer said finally. "It's clear you've put a tremendous amount of thought into this. Our program provides both mentorship and funding for promising entrepreneurs, with a focus on businesses that will benefit their local communities." "What would the process involve?" Maya asked, hardly daring to hope that she might actually qualify for such a program. "If you're accepted, you'd be paired with an experienced business mentor who would work with you over the next 6 months to refine your business plan and prepare for launch. At the end of that period, if your progress meets our standards, we provide seed funding of up to $50,000 to help you get started." Maya's eyes widened. $50,000 was more money than she had ever imagined having access to. It would be enough to lease a small space, purchase equipment, and cover her operating costs for the first several months. "There's one unique aspect to our program that I should mention," Jennifer continued. "Our mentors prefer to work anonymously, at least initially. This allows for more honest feedback and prevents ments from feeling intimidated by their mentor's background or achievements." "Anonymous mentorship?" Maya asked. "Your mentor will work with you through email, phone calls, and written feedback on your progress. You'll meet face-to-face only after you've completed the initial 6-month program and received your funding approval. It might seem unusual, but we've found that this approach often leads to better outcomes." Maya nodded, though she found the arrangement strange. Still, if it meant access to expert guidance and potential funding, she was willing to adapt to whatever format they preferred. "I'd love to participate," Maya said. "What do I need to do to apply?" Actually, you've already been provisionally accepted based on your interview today and the recommendation we received, Jennifer replied. If you're interested, we can start the program next week. Your mentor has already reviewed your initial business plan and is eager to begin working with you. Maya left the meeting feeling as though she was floating. As she walked back to grind coffee to finish her evening shift, she couldn't stop smiling. Everything was happening so quickly that it felt almost surreal. But she couldn't deny the excitement building inside her. That evening, Alex was waiting at his usual table when Maya arrived for the closing shift. She was practically glowing with excitement, and he could tell immediately that something significant had happened. "You look like you've had a good day," he said with a smile. "The best day," Maya replied. Unable to contain the mentorship program began the following Monday with an email from someone identified only as AC. Maya found herself corresponding with her mysterious mentor several times a day, exchanging detailed discussions about every aspect of her business plan. AC demonstrated an impressive understanding of both the coffee industry and small business operations, offering insights that were both practical and innovative. Maya was amazed by the depth of knowledge her mentor possessed. AC helped her identify potential cost savings in her equipment purchases, suggested suppliers she had never heard of who offered better prices than the ones she had researched, and provided detailed feedback on her financial projections that made her numbers more realistic and achievable. "Your initial location analysis is good," AC wrote in one email, "but you should also consider foot traffic patterns during different seasons, the impact of nearby construction projects, and the demographic shifts that might occur over the next 5 years. A cafe is a long-term investment, and you want to choose a location that will remain viable as the neighborhood evolves." Maya spent hours researching the suggestions AC provided, visiting potential locations at different times of day and week, and analyzing data she had never thought to consider before. The process was time-consuming but invaluable, and she began to understand why the program had such a strong success rate. Meanwhile, Alex continued his regular visits to grind coffee, carefully monitoring Maya's progress without revealing his role in her mentorship. He enjoyed watching her excitement as she discovered new aspects of business planning, and he was impressed by how quickly she absorbed and implemented the guidance he provided through their anonymous correspondence. "My mentor suggested I look into sustainable sourcing partnerships with coffee farms," Maya told Alex during one of their coffee break conversations. "Apparently, there are direct trade relationships that could help me provide better quality coffee while supporting farming communities. It would also give my cafe a unique identity in the market." Alex nodded thoughtfully, having been the one to suggest that exact approach in his email the previous day. "That sounds like excellent advice. Your mentor seems to really understand the industry. I know it's strange to say about someone I've never met, but I feel like AC understands exactly what I'm trying to accomplish," Maya replied. "The feedback is always constructive and encouraging, but also pushes me to think bigger than I was before." Over the weeks that followed, Maya's business plan evolved from a simple cafe concept into a comprehensive community business that would offer multiple revenue streams while serving its neighborhood in meaningful ways. AC helped her develop ideas for hosting small business workshops, partnering with local schools for student employment opportunities, and creating a loyalty program that would reward customers for community involvement rather than just purchase frequency. "Your original vision was good," AC wrote in a particularly detailed email, "but now you're thinking like an entrepreneur who understands that success comes from creating value for everyone involved. Your cafe won't just serve coffee. It will serve as a catalyst for community development." Maya printed out that email and pinned it above her desk at home. The words meant more to her than AC could know, because they validated the larger purpose she had always envisioned for her business but had been afraid to articulate. As her confidence grew, Maya began sharing her evolving plans with her family and friends. Marcus, now working as an assistant at an engineering firm while saving money for his bachelor's degree, was amazed by the sophistication of his sister's business strategy. "Maya, this doesn't sound like a small coffee shop anymore," he said one evening as she walked him through her latest projections. "This sounds like a real company with multiple revenue streams and community partnerships. How did you learn to think about business this way?" "My mentor has been incredible," Maya replied. AC asks questions that make me consider angles I never would have thought of on my own. And the feedback is so detailed and knowledgeable that sometimes I wonder what kind of business background they must have. What Maya didn't realize was that her anonymous mentor was drawing from years of experience building one of the most successful technology companies in the world. Alexander Chun had started his own business with similar dreams of making a positive impact, and he was using every lesson he had learned to help Maya avoid the mistakes he had made and capitalize on the opportunities he wished he had recognized earlier in his own journey. The mentorship program required Maya to submit weekly progress reports and participate in monthly video conferences with the program coordinators. During one of these calls, Jennifer Walsh commented on the exceptional quality of Maya's work. Maya, in 15 years of running this program, I've rarely seen such dramatic improvement in such a short time, Jennifer said. Your mentor must be providing extraordinary guidance. AC has been amazing, Maya agreed. I just wish I could thank them in person. The anonymous format makes it feel a bit one-sided sometimes. I understand that feeling, Jennifer replied. But trust me when I say that good mentors find the process as rewarding as their ments do. Seeing someone with your potential develop these skills is probably more satisfying for AC than you might imagine. As Maya approached the halfway point of her mentorship program, she faced an unexpected challenge. The coffee shop where she worked, Grind Coffee, was struggling financially. Mrs. Rodriguez confided in Maya that rising rent and increased competition from chain coffee shops were threatening the business's survival. I don't know how much longer I can keep the doors open, Mrs. Rodriguez admitted one morning when the shop was unusually quiet. I've been trying to avoid layoffs, but I might not have a choice soon. Maya felt a pang of anxiety, not just about potentially losing her job, but about the impact on Mrs. Rodriguez, who had been like a mentor to her long before the formal program began. That evening, she wrote a detailed email to AC explaining the situation and asking for advice. AC's response came quickly and was more detailed than usual. Small independent businesses face enormous challenges in today's market, but that doesn't mean the situation is hopeless. Mrs. Rodriguez's cafe has valuable assets, an established customer base, a prime location, and, most importantly, employees like you who care about its success. Have you considered proposing a partnership or management agreement that could help revitalize the business while giving you practical experience running a cafe operation? The suggestion was brilliant, but Maya wasn't sure she had the credibility to propose such an arrangement. She was, after all, just a part-time employee who was still in college. I don't think Mrs. Rodriguez would take a proposal like that seriously from me, Maya wrote back. I don't have any management experience or the financial resources to be a real partner. Sometimes the best ideas come from unexpected sources, AC replied. Your value isn't just in what you can contribute financially, but in your understanding of the customer base, your vision for community engagement, and your commitment to the business's success. Partnership doesn't always mean equal financial investment. Sometimes it means bringing complementary skills and fresh perspectives. Encouraged by AC's words, Maya spent the weekend developing a proposal for Mrs. Rodriguez. She researched successful cafe turnaround stories, identified specific strategies that could increase Grind Coffee's profitability, and created a plan that would allow her to take on more responsibility in exchange for learning opportunities that would prepare her for running her own business. On Monday morning, Maya presented her proposal to Mrs. Rodriguez, who listened with growing amazement as Maya outlined strategies for social media marketing, community event hosting, and customer loyalty programs that could revitalize the struggling business. Maya, where did all this come from? Mrs. Rodriguez asked. This is sophisticated business analysis. I've been learning a lot through my mentorship program, Maya replied. And I care about this place. Grind Coffee gave me my first real job and taught me what good customer service looks like. If there's a way to save it while also preparing myself for my own business, I'd love to try. Mrs. Rodriguez agreed to implement Maya's suggestions on a trial basis, with the understanding that if the strategies proved successful, they would discuss a more formal partnership arrangement. Maya immediately shared the news with AC, who responded with enthusiasm and additional suggestions for making the turnaround successful. What Maya didn't know was that Alex had been hoping for exactly this kind of opportunity to arise. He recognized that Maya needed real-world management experience before launching her own cafe, and saving Mrs. Rodriguez's business would provide her with exactly the hands-on learning she required. The transformation of grind coffee had been nothing short of remarkable. Under Maya's management strategies, the struggling cafe had become a thriving community hub. Her customer loyalty program had increased repeat business by 40%. The community events she organized brought in new customers every week, and her social media presence had quadrupled their online following. Mrs. Rodriguez was so impressed that she formally offered Maya a partnership in the business, with the opportunity to buy out her share gradually over the next 5 years. As Maya approached the end of her 6-month mentorship program, she felt more confident than ever about her entrepreneurial abilities. Her final business plan for her own cafe had evolved into a comprehensive proposal for a small chain of community-focused coffee shops that could be replicated in underserved neighborhoods throughout the city. "Your final presentation is exceptional," AC wrote in their last official email correspondence. "You've demonstrated exactly the kind of innovative thinking and community-centered approach that creates lasting business success. I'm excited to inform you that you've been approved for the full funding amount, and the program coordinators would like to schedule your graduation ceremony for next Friday evening." Maya stared at the email in disbelief. $50,000 in seed funding, plus the partnership opportunity with Mrs. Rodriguez, meant that her dreams were about to become reality in ways she had never imagined possible. The graduation ceremony was held in an elegant conference room at a downtown hotel. Maya arrived wearing a new dress that she had finally felt justified in purchasing, given her recent business success. She was surprised to see that she was apparently the only graduating mentee that evening, which Jennifer Walsh explained was due to the program's personalized approach to timing. "Maya, we're so proud of what you've accomplished," Jennifer said as they waited for the ceremony to begin. "Your mentor specifically requested the opportunity to present your completion certificate personally, which is quite unusual for our program." "I'm finally going to meet AC?" Maya asked, excited and nervous about meeting the person who had guided her so skillfully over the past 6 months. "Yes, and I think you'll find the meeting quite memorable," Jennifer replied with a mysterious smile. Maya was seated at a small table facing a podium, with Jennifer and 2 other program coordinators at a nearby table. She checked her phone nervously, wondering when AC would arrive and what they would be like in person. At exactly 7 o'clock, Jennifer stood and approached the podium. "Maya, it's my pleasure to introduce your mentor, who has requested the honor of presenting your completion certificate personally." The door at the back of the room opened, and Maya turned to see who was entering. Her breath caught in her throat as Alex, the friendly customer from Grind Coffee, walked into the room wearing an expensive suit and carrying himself with a confidence she had never noticed before. "Maya," he said, approaching her table with a warm smile, "I believe it's time for us to have a more complete introduction." Maya stood slowly, her mind racing as she tried to process what was happening. "Alex, what are you doing here? Are you here for the ceremony too?" "In a way, yes," he replied, stopping in front of her. "Maya Johnson, I'm Alexander Chun, and I've been your mentor AC for the past 6 months." The room seemed to spin slightly as Maya stared at him in shock. The casual coffee shop customer who had listened to her dreams and offered gentle encouragement was the same person who had provided months of sophisticated business guidance through their anonymous correspondence. "You're AC?" she asked weakly. "But you're just Alex from the coffee shop. I'm also the founder and CEO of Chun Industries," Alexander said gently. "The young man you met outside the Sterling restaurant 6 months ago, and the person who's been working with you to develop your business plan." Maya sank back into her chair as the full weight of the revelation hit her. "You were outside the Sterling? You're the one who helped me that night. I saw how you were treated, and it reminded me of experiences from my own past," Alexander explained, taking the seat across from her. "I wanted to help, but I also wanted to get to know you better before revealing who I was. So the coffee shop visits, the mentorship program, all of it was..." Maya's voice trailed off as she tried to understand the implications. "The mentorship program is completely legitimate, and your achievements are entirely your own," Alexander said quickly. "I didn't give you any special treatment or unearned advantages. I simply provided you with the same quality of guidance that any entrepreneur deserves, and you exceeded every expectation with your intelligence and dedication. Jennifer Walsh approached their table with a certificate and a folder of documents. Maya, the funding approval is real, and it's based entirely on the merit of your work over the past 6 months. Mr. Chin's company sponsors our program, but the evaluations and decisions are made independently. Maya looked at the certificate, then back at Alexander, still struggling to process everything she had learned. Why didn't you tell me who you were from the beginning? Because I wanted you to know that your success was based on your own abilities, Alexander replied. If I had introduced myself as a billionaire CEO, would you have felt comfortable sharing your authentic thoughts and dreams? Would you have challenged my suggestions or offered your own ideas with the same confidence? Maya considered his words and realized he was probably right. Knowing his true identity would have intimidated her and changed the dynamic of their mentorship completely. The Chun Industries in your laptop, she said suddenly, remembering glimpses of his work at the coffee shop. I saw it but didn't put it together. I was working from the coffee shop because I genuinely enjoyed the environment you helped create there, Alexander said. It reminded me why I started my own company. Your passion for community building and authentic service inspired me to reconnect with my original motivations. As the initial shock began to wear off, Maya felt a mixture of gratitude and uncertainty. What happens now? I mean, you're a billionaire, and I'm just a community college student trying to open a coffee shop. Now you take your seed funding and build the business you've designed, Alexander replied. But if you're willing, I'd like to continue working with you, this time openly. Not as an anonymous mentor, but as an investor and advisor who believes in your vision. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a formal document. This is a proposal for additional investment beyond the program funding. I'd like to invest $500,000 in your business expansion plans, with terms that would allow you to maintain controlling interest while accessing the resources you need to scale your operations. Maya stared at the document, hardly able to comprehend the number written there. $500,000 was more money than she had ever imagined having access to in her lifetime. Why? She asked simply. Why would you invest so much in my business? Because in 6 months, you've shown me that you have all the qualities that separate successful entrepreneurs from people who just have good ideas, Alexander replied. You're creative but practical, ambitious but grounded, and you never lost sight of your original goal of serving your community. Those are exactly the qualities I had when I started Chun Industries, and they're the reasons I've been successful. Maya looked around the room at Jennifer and the other program coordinators, who were watching the exchange with obvious excitement. She realized that this moment represented the culmination of everything she had worked toward, but also the beginning of possibilities she had never dared to imagine. There's one more thing, Alexander said, his expression becoming more serious. I want you to know that our friendship, the conversations we've had at Grind Coffee, those were real. I wasn't acting a part or manipulating the situation. I genuinely enjoyed getting to know you as a person, separate from your potential as an entrepreneur. Maya felt tears welling up in her eyes as she thought about the journey that had brought her to this moment. 6 months ago, she had been turned away from a restaurant because of her appearance and economic status. Tonight, she was being offered the chance to build a business empire with the support of one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world. I accept, she said finally, her voice steady despite her emotional state. The investment, the partnership, all of it. But I have one condition. Alexander raised an eyebrow, curious about what condition someone in Maya's position might request. I want to create a foundation as part of my business expansion, Maya said. Something that helps other people like me, people who have the dreams and abilities but not the connections or resources. I want to make sure that someone else doesn't have to wait for a chance encounter to access the opportunities they deserve. Alexander's smile was broader and more genuine than any Maya had seen from him before. I think that's the most brilliant business proposal I've ever heard, he said. And I'd be honored to help you make it happen. As Maya signed the investment documents that evening, she thought about all the people who had supported her along the way. Mrs. Rodriguez, who had given her flexible work hours and believed in her potential. Marcus, who had encouraged her to dream bigger than their circumstances suggested was possible. Her family, who had sacrificed to help her get an education. And, now Alexander, who had seen something in her worth investing in when she was just a young woman working at a coffee shop. 6 months later, Maya's first cafe opened in the same neighborhood where she had grown up, creating jobs for local residents and providing a gathering space for community meetings and events. The success of the first location led to rapid expansion, and within 2 years, Maya was running a chain of 12 community-focused coffee shops across the city. More importantly, the foundation she had envisioned was helping dozens of other entrepreneurs access mentorship and funding opportunities. Maya and Alexander worked together to identify promising business owners from underrepresented communities, providing them with the same kind of support that had transformed Maya's life. On the second anniversary of her first cafe's opening, Maya stood in her original location, watching the bustling crowd of customers who had made her business a central part of their daily lives. Alexander approached her with 2 cups of coffee, prepared exactly the way she had made them during her early morning shifts at Grind Coffee. "Any regrets?" he asked, handing her a cup. Maya looked around at everything they had built together, from the successful business to the foundation that was changing other people's lives. She thought about the scared young woman who had whispered her insecurities in an alley 6 months earlier, and the confident entrepreneur she had become. "Only one," she said with a smile. "I wish I could go back and tell that hostess at the Sterling that sometimes the people you underestimate end up changing the world." Alexander laughed, remembering their first encounter and how far they had both come since that night. "I think she probably reads about you in the business magazines now. You've certainly made an impression on the industry." As they stood together in the cafe that had started it all, Maya realized that her story was really about more than business success or financial achievement. It was about the power of believing in someone's potential, the importance of creating opportunities for others, and the magic that happens when preparation meets genuine support. The poor girl who had once been turned away from a restaurant because of her appearance had become a successful entrepreneur and philanthropist, not through luck or charity, but through her own hard work combined with the belief and investment of someone who recognized her worth. And now, through her foundation and businesses, she was making sure that other talented individuals would have access to the same kinds of opportunities that had transformed her life. Maya's whispered confession in that alley had indeed been heard by exactly the right person at exactly the right moment. But what she had built from that encounter was entirely her own achievement, a testament to the power of determination, vision, and the willingness to dream bigger than your circumstances might suggest is possible. As Maya threw herself into revitalizing Grind Coffee, Alex continued his regular visits, watching with pride as she implemented the strategies they had discussed through their anonymous correspondence. The cafe began showing signs of improvement within just a few weeks, as Maya's community engagement initiatives brought in new customers and her operational improvements increased efficiency and profitability. "Things are really turning around here," Alex commented during one of their coffee break conversations. "You must be proud of what you've accomplished." "I couldn't have done it without guidance from my mentor," Maya replied. "AC helped me understand that business success isn't just about having a good product, but about creating systems and relationships that support sustainable growth." Alex smiled, knowing that Maya was learning lessons that would serve her well, not just in saving Mrs. Rodriguez's cafe, but in building the successful business empire he could already envision her creating. The mentorship program was accomplishing everything he had hoped for and more, preparing Maya not just to run a single cafe, but to think like an entrepreneur capable of much greater achievements. As they approached the final phase of the mentorship program, Alex began to consider how and when to reveal his true identity to Maya. Their anonymous relationship had been incredibly productive, but he looked forward to the day when they could work together openly, combining his resources and experience with her vision and determination to create something truly remarkable. Our enthusiasm. "I had a meeting about a business mentorship program, and they accepted me on the spot. They're going to help me refine my business plan and potentially provide funding to start my cafe." Alex felt a warm satisfaction at seeing her joy, though he maintained his expression of casual interest. That's fantastic news. You must have really impressed them. I still can't believe it's real, Maya said. 6 months ago, I couldn't even get a table at a restaurant. And now I'm being offered the chance to actually start my own business. Sometimes life surprises you in the most amazing ways. Alex thought about their first encounter outside the Sterling and smiled. Sometimes it does indeed. I'm really happy for you, Maya. You deserve this opportunity. As Maya began preparing to close the shop, she felt grateful not just for the amazing opportunity ahead of her, but also for the unexpected friendship she had developed with Alex. Having someone to share her excitement with made the whole experience feel more real and meaningful. What she didn't know was that Alex had spent considerable effort setting up the entire program specifically for her, working with his company's community investment team to create a legitimate mentorship opportunity that would give Maya exactly the support she needed. The funding was real, the mentorship was real, and the opportunity to achieve her dreams was absolutely genuine. As he watched Maya's happiness that evening, Alexanderson felt more satisfied than he had in years of making billion-dollar business deals. Sometimes the most rewarding investments weren't measured in financial returns, but in the chance to help someone talented reach their full potential. The next phase of Maya's journey was about to begin, and Alex looked forward to guiding her success from behind the scenes, at least until the time was right to reveal the full truth about who he really was and why he had chosen to believe in her dreams. Thank you for the coffee and the conversation, he said, leaving a $20 tip for a $10 order. I hope I'll see you again soon. After he left, Maya stared at the generous tip, wondering again about the mysterious Alex who seemed to understand business so well and who had shown such genuine interest in her dreams. She had no idea that she was dealing with one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the country, or that their conversation had sparked an idea that would soon change her life dramatically. That evening, as Maya walked home from her tutoring session, she found herself replaying every detail of her conversation with Alex. There had been something almost familiar about him, and she couldn't shake the feeling that they had met somewhere before. But she was certain she would have remembered someone who had shown such interest in her goals and dreams. What Maya didn't know was that Alex had spent the remainder of his day thinking about her as well. Her passion for creating a welcoming space for everyone, her determination despite obvious financial obstacles, and her genuine warmth had reminded him why he had started his own company years earlier. He had begun with similar dreams of making a positive impact, though somewhere along the way, the demands of running a billion-dollar corporation had distanced him from those original motivations. As Alexanderson sat in his penthouse office later that night, looking out over the city lights, he made a decision that would set the next phase of Maya's journey in motion. He reached for his phone and dialed his assistant. "Sarah, I need you to research something for me," he said. "I want to know everything about small business loan programs and microfinance opportunities for entrepreneurs in underserved communities. And I want a list of the best business mentorship programs in the city." "Of course, Mr. Chan," his assistant replied. "Should I ask what this is in relation to?" Alexander paused for a moment, thinking about Maya's bright smile and determined spirit. "Let's call it a new investment opportunity," he said finally. "One that I think could be very promising indeed." But even as she enjoyed the celebration with her brother, Maya couldn't stop thinking about the young man in the alley who had made it all possible. She found herself wondering who he was, how he had managed to change the restaurant's attitude so quickly, and why he had chosen to help a complete stranger. As they prepared to leave, the manager approached their table with a warm smile. "Ms. Johnson, I hope everything was to your satisfaction this evening. Please know that you're welcome here anytime. And I want to personally apologize again for the earlier misunderstanding. It was completely unacceptable." Maya thanked him graciously, though she still didn't fully understand what had transpired. As she and Marcus walked out into the cool night air, she felt a mixture of gratitude and curiosity that would stay with her for days to come. The evening had started with humiliation and rejection, but it had transformed into something magical. More than just a meal, it had become a reminder that there were still good people in the world, people willing to stand up for others without expecting anything in return. Maya had no idea that her life was about to become intertwined with the mysterious stranger who had appeared in her darkest moment, or that this single encounter would set in motion a series of events that would change both of their lives forever. As she walked home that night, Maya made a silent promise to herself. Someday, when she was in a position to help others, she would remember this moment and pay forward the kindness that had been shown to her. She had no way of knowing that the opportunity would come much sooner than she ever imagined.